Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show with Aditya. A half an hour show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. India's number one podcast with India's number one host, Aditya, in association with Dusra.net, the number one website in sports, education, and entertainment. As India celebrates its 72nd Independence Day, the world celebrates the 100th episode of the greatest talk show on the planet. This is the 14th of August 2019 and welcome to the 100th episode of the weekly show with Aditya. It's not every day that a milestone of 100 is achieved. This is an achievement at par with a sports person. When a batter scores 100, they take in the acknowledgement of the crowd. It is similar in the case of a bowler, and when a sports person participates in a match, which could be their 50th or 100th, they receive a standing ovation. When mountaineers climb the highest peak, they are given adulation across spheres. In a world where we celebrate 50 years of the moon landing, 150th anniversary of MK Gandhi, 100th birth anniversary of the space pioneer of India in Vikram Sarabhai, we even celebrated 500 test matches played by India 3 years ago. My 100 episodes are at the top of the mountain and deserve the same adulation. A venture that was floated in June 2018 started like a Maruti and has now become a Ferrari. I would like to thank all my guests who have appeared on this show: Mayank, Gagan, Rahul, Uma Shankar, and Lakshmi. And I assure my listeners that once every month we will have a special guest appearance. And if you want to be one of those special guests, all you have to do is answer my question and send me an email with the right answer. And the lucky ones will have a chance to appear on my show. And you never know, appearing on my show might just give you the celebrity status you have been looking for. And then you can proudly say that my first talk show was with Aditya. I will ask a question every Friday. So stay tuned to this network. And now, I would like to thank all my listeners and subscribers for being a part of this journey and many more milestones to follow. Their valuable suggestions has helped me make this show a global success. Strap yourselves because this is going to be a high flying show. As I do in every episode, I had asked my listeners a question, and this week's question was: on the eve of the 72nd Independence Day, how true does ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country hold true in the current generation? And as always, I received a lot of answers, but there was one answer which stood out, and now let's hear what this individual has to say.
Mr. Aditya. So, my name is Lakshmi Swaminathan, and I'm a second year economics student. What I believe in Kennedy's saying, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, is definitely true, because the generation before me, that is, people who roughly belong to your age group, they were primarily interested in themselves, settling in the US and working for the best of firms and making the best use of the opportunities available to them. But I do see a slight difference in the way that my generation, people currently in high school and college, are working on, because I've seen that a lot of my friends really want to do something for the country. They want to be a part of the civil services, they want to be a part of the army, they want to be a part of the galaxy of scientists in India. So a lot of them do wish to go abroad and study, but they want to come back and do something for the nation. And I think it's primarily got to do with the new nationalist sort of ideology that is being propagated around all of us, and people are feeling that sense of pride. And as an student of economics, I definitely believe that this school of thought definitely holds true, because otherwise we'll all be in the road to serfdom, as Professor Friedrich Hayek had prophesied. So we don't want that to happen. So I think it's high time that we actually start working for the country, because when we do so, everybody becomes prosperous. On the other hand, if you expect the government to take care of you all the time, to an extent, it's all right. But if you're expecting that paternalistic style of government, then I believe that the country is truly not going to progress, because it is just going to be filled with complacent citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for your valuable points. I wish all my listeners a very happy Independence Day. Now it's time to move on to the specifics of the show, and the first order of business is the Ashes. With Jofra Archer, who was the hero of the World Cup tournament for England, making his Ashes debut today, England might just get the boost they were looking for after their disappointing loss against Australia in the first match. With James Anderson, the premier fast bowler, injured and also at the age of 37, it's time for England to look for new faces, and Jofra Archer might just be the boost they are looking for. And for the first time in centuries, England has a team where all their 11 batters are capable of batting, means except for the two wicket keepers and the openers, the rest of them can bat and bowl as well. So they have the all-rounders in the left-arm spinner in Jack Leach, Chris Wokes, Ben Stokes and Stuart Broad as your all-rounders. While the captain Joe Root, if needed, can fill in with his off-spin bowling. A month after they won the World Cup, can England do it again, winning the 5-day match against Australia? And this time the stakes are much higher, because a disappointing performance in this particular format might just see the end of careers of some players, as we have seen with Moeen Ali. Moeen Ali, who was a hero in the last year's test matches against England, now finds himself out of the team as he didn't give enough satisfactory performances for the selectors to continue with him. With the fast bowling all-rounder Sam Curran waiting in the wings, Moeen Ali's time is definitely running out. So at this point, while the England team looks settled, at least on paper, and by the time this particular podcast is aired, we will know where the position of the test match is. On the other hand, their opponents, Australia, who won the first match courtesy performances from the prodigal son, Steve Smith, as well as centuries by the returning wicketkeeper Matthew Wade, still have a few areas to iron out. Their top three batsmen didn't contribute much. That is Usman Khwaja, David Warner, another prodigal son, along with the third prodigal son in Cameron Bancroft, did not perform up to expectations, and therefore the entire gamut fell on former captain Steve Smith. But he wouldn't want to be coming in the second over if Australia lose two quick wickets. And if Jofra Archer does get that impending test debut, then the openers will have to be careful. Should Australia continue with the same team in 7 batsmen and 4 bowlers, or should they have the all-rounder Mitchell Marsh in the team? But the question is, who does he replace? The middle order for Australia looks settled, that is Steve Smith, Travis Head, wicket keepers Matthew Wade and Tim Payne. They look settled from number 4 to number 7. The issue is the top 3 batters. So at this point, if they do want to have a Mitchell Marsh in the team to give some kind of rest to their fast bowlers, the only options are either they drop Cameron Bancroft and allow Khwaja to open, or they drop Usman Khwaja and let Steve Smith come at number 3. Now this is a dilemma which the management will have to work out. So it will be an interesting team selection. Now the question from my listeners would be, why am I endorsing Mitchell Marsh? If you recall, Australia went with 4 bowlers in the last match, and that meant the off spinner Nathan Lyon had to do a lot of bowling and he might have sore fingers. So to take the burden of Nathan Lyon and the 3 fast bowlers, because the 3 fast bowlers in James Pattinson, Peter Siddle and Patrick Cummins are injury prone, and we know that a Mitchell Starc and a Josh Hazelwood are waiting in the wings eagerly. Therefore, a Mitchell Marsh might just be that buffer the team needs. He can come and bowl in those overs when rest would be provided to the fast bowlers. The captain then can rotate the fast bowlers along with the all-rounder Mitchell Marsh without pressing anyone out. While Mitchell Marsh would be a good addition to the team, but on the other hand, they don't want to disturb the winning combination, even if that means going with the top 3 who haven't contributed at the levels at which they were expected to. So don't be surprised if Australia go with the same team they had in the first match. So either way, it's going to be a very interesting team selection on both sides. While England is sure to give Jofra Archer a debut, Australia will have to work a few things out. For England, it also means a Jason Roy, Ben Stokes, Josh Butler, the heroes of the 50 over matches, to pull up their socks and perform in this version as well. Or we might see a Josh Butler and a Jason Roy being shunted out of the team for the future matches. I will discuss more on the team selection and how the matches pan out in the next episode. Now let's move on to the India-West Indies match. While India has a lead of 1-0 in the 3-match series as the first match was abandoned due to rain, they too have some problems of their own. Like Steve Smith, Virat Kohli had to take the burden of scoring the runs. He was fortunate to be aided by a future in Shreyas Iyer. But now my question is, how long will Virat Kohli tolerate coming in the first over? Yes, it gives him an opportunity to score 100, but it also gives an opportunity for the other team to know that India has what we call an NPA, a non-performing asset in Shikhar Dhawan. And if India has to chase a target of 2-8, Virat Kohli coming in the first over is now a daily habit. And it's different when you are batting first and when you are chasing. So get Virat Kohli in the first over, put him under pressure, and it just might be a deja vu of what happened in the semi-finals against New Zealand. India obviously will not lose the series. They might just make it 1-1 from the West Indies side. But will India make some changes? That is the question. And we might just see a Navdeep Saini replacing Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And if they are planning to do that, then Bhuvneshwar Kumar might just pack his bags and go home because he is not part of the test team. But don't be surprised if they do not make any changes to the team. One school of thought would call it being rigid, means a Manish Pandey and a Rahul along with Navdeep Saini and Chahal does not get an opportunity. I would not blame the team management for such a thought process. Rather, I would blame those who had made this itinerary. 2.5 matches are not enough for everyone to get a chance. And if they do get a chance and they lose, then they would be criticized as to why did they give those individuals a chance when the team had a winning combination. So the dilemma either way for the team management continues. This situation puts me in a dilemma as well, and the less said about the itinerary, the better. And rain will play an important role. In fact, as much as a banal thing like lightning makes the umpires fearful and they drag the players out of the ground. The committees who make the laws should sit down and have a uniform policy as far as rains are concerned and not leave it at the hands of the umpires. I have seen umpires at their whims and fancy call off a match even if it is bright sunshine. Why? Because a part of the field is wet and damp, while in another part of the world, another set of umpires in the same situation will not call off the match. And for someone who has seen enough rain affected games and how the umpire manage this situation, they don't do it in an uniform manner, because cricket is the only team game where a match would be called off because of rain and they cover the entire ground. So the suggestion from me is this: before a match is awarded to a certain ground, there should be some criteria. The drainage system should be number one on their list, and if in the past the same ground has had a situation where the drainage system has not allowed the match to be carried on, then the match should not be awarded to the ground. The second criteria should be quality of the covers. Can we have covers which automatically jut out from inside the ground, that as soon as it rains you press a button and the entire ground is covered, instead of seeing people or groundkeepers rush in with those plastic covers, and by the time they come, those parts of the field are so wet that even if it is bright sunshine, the umpires say the match will not go further. The third criteria should be: has every spectator been given an umbrella for free? Or when it starts raining, do they have a small room where they can accommodate these individuals? Unless such criteria are met, a ground should not be awarded a match. Otherwise, every time it rains, we will see the same discussion again and again. Another important criteria to be added is: when is the match being awarded? Is it during the rainy season? Then that particular part of the country should not be awarded a match if we know that showers are an imminent prospect. Because if the players, the officials are aware that this particular ground or this particular part of the country will be affected by rain during this particular season, then the boards who make the itinerary should have that knowledge, should have that sight as to not give the matches to that ground. Because unlike football and in some sense hockey, cricket will be called off if it starts raining. And what is raining? Is it drizzling or is it cats and dogs? We cannot have the umpires making such arbitrary decisions. The role of the umpires is to keep the players in check, and they should be given other statutory powers. Thank you for listening to part 1 on this very special episode on this very special day. I will be back with part 2 very soon. Welcome to part 2 of this very special episode. If you recall, I asked last week whether Seth Rollins would achieve something special by beating Brock Lesnar again. In a WrestleMania rematch, he was facing Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, and he did 2-0 against Brock Lesnar on a pay-per-view event where most of the champions retained their championship. Brock Lesnar was the only one who relinquished his championship to Seth Rollins. The build-up to this match over the past couple of months was Brock Lesnar making a surprise entrance and Their pre-match build-up would be Brock Lesnar giving a reminder to Seth Rollins that he snatched the Universal Championship from him by the virtue of being Mr. Money in the Bank. But Lesnar didn't hold on to that title for too long as Rollins overcame a series of F5s and suplexes to win the championship. And so far he has beaten every opponent who has challenged him for that particular championship. The other championship matches saw the titles being successfully defended. For the WWE Championship, it was Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton, a rivalry whose hype they have created for the past 11 years. And though this match ended in a disappointing manner through a series of countouts, we might see these two individuals go at each other again at a future pay-per-view event. The non-title matches whose rivalry they had been building up for months saw Dolph Ziggler take on Goldberg, and as expected, Goldberg came through with a win. So who will be the king of the ring as this pay-per-view returns after a long time, as wrestlers from both the brands clash for this coveted title? What this particular event entails, I will fill you in next week. Thank you for listening to part 2 on this very special occasion, on this very special day. So if you want to be a part of my show, please send your valuable suggestions and send your recordings on topics ranging from sports, education and entertainment on the email ID adityatherewriter@gmail.com. That is adityatherewriter@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook page and YouTube channel and stay tuned for the next episode.